Hey folks, it's Deb from Queerstrology. How's everybody doing? Today, we're going to have a special guest, Xander from Ultimatum Queer Love, and we are going to talk about Xander's natal chart, which is right here above me, as well as we are going to discuss different aspects and different connections that Xander had on the show, as well as what I see for them in their future match and what they may or should possibly be looking for. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Xander will be joining us in a moment. I just wanted to get on here and give a few at the bottom of your page there. That's what will allow you to join me. And I think it's just going to be that little tiny, like Xander's going to be like right here. And they're so little, and I don't like that, but we'll try. Xander, I'm going to try to send it to you one more time. There you go. Or you can send me an invite, and I'll just add you. Either way, it's fine, okay? So behind me, you can see Xander's natal chart, okay? Currently. Oh, here comes Xander, getting ready to join right now. So we're going to talk about Xander's... Hey, are you there? You may be able to... Hey, I can hear you. We just need your camera.
There we go.
Hey!
Hey!
Here's Xander right here. Look at how... I hate how little you are on these TikTok lives. Xander, everybody. And just so you know, I had to go get my hair done yesterday so I can make sure there's too much good hair on this live right now.
So good. Actually, we got kind of the similar thing going on here. I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So everybody, this is Xander. You may know Xander from, I don't know, this show called Ultimatum Queer Love on Netflix. But as an astrologer, as soon as I saw it, as soon as I knew it was coming out, I'm like, I have to get all this information because we all know in queer land that that astrology is kind of like our version of religion, if you will, right? So, I mean, everybody needs to know the deets. So I do want to remind everybody that polite only. If anybody gets a little unruly, I do have a moderator that will bid you. So be nice, okay? And that goes towards me as well, okay? I'm still a person.
Totally. You deserve all the respect. You've been like putting out so much stuff for all of us. It's so appreciated.
Hey, thank you for that. It's there's 10 there what well, we only count 9 now, but there was 10 of you. So, getting that information for every single person and then not wanting to tell people too much stuff yet. I wanted to build it a little bit,
Yeah.
But now we're here for the goods, right? So behind me is your natal chart, Xander, and it even has the aspects on. So I'm going to explain to you what we're even looking at here. This is how I like to start all of these so people can kind of get on the same page with us. And then we're going to talk about the compatibility with some people on the show, and then your match, which you and I talked about separate, and what that looks like. Okay?
Yeah.
So first off, everybody, see these right here, these signs? These are, everybody has all 12, okay? So every single person has all 12 signs in their chart. So anytime you're hating on a particular sign, you're hating on part of yourself. I just want to let you know, all right? They represent the constellations in the sky, because this is the sky at the time that Xander was born. It's a snapshot of it, okay? So each constellation was at a particular part of the sky, and that's what we have on here, okay? Now it stops here, is actually where it starts, not stops. This is your ascendant or your rising sign. So this was the constellation that was on the eastern horizon at the moment that you were born. So that's why it starts your chart, okay? Because in astrology, we're earth-centered, not sun-centered. So we're in the middle, and then everything where it is in relation to us. So as we start, again, you are an Aquarius rising, right? So Aquarians, as we know them to be, are quite the aliens, if you will. But they're very altruistic, humanitarian, want to help the world. And this is how people will see you at first. It's kind of the first impression that people get of you, and also the first impression you take towards things. So you'll approach things with a very altruistic idea until you get to know it better, right? This is important because it not only just is the ruler of your first house, which I'll explain in a minute, but it's the ruler of your entire chart, which also means whatever planet rules it is your planet ruler, which for you is Uranus, okay? This is rebellion, interesting things, bucking the system, if you will. Uh-huh. Now let's talk about, I'm going to talk mainly about your big six, okay? So now we have all these signs, and then we have these numbers in the middle here, which we're just going to talk about for Xander's natal chart. So because when we get to the compatibility, we won't talk about it as much. But so everybody knows what it means. The houses mean a part of your life. So you can see these little sections, these little pie. That's a part of your life. So you have a personality of the sign, and a part of your life with the sign with the houses. These little glyphs bring a focus because they're astral bodies. There's thousands of them. We're just talking about a few right now. So they bring a focus with the personality that they're under and in the part of your life that they're under, if that makes sense. And then these lines that are in the middle are aspects. This is what we're going to be talking about heavily today, because while you have them in your natal chart, like Xander does here, this shows us the relationship between Xander's personal focus points, right? Like how you're being seen, Xander, and then your ego. They're flowing well together. Okay, we'll talk about all of these and what they
So
mean.
interesting.
Yeah, but it shows us like your interpersonal connections of your focus, right? So when we take that and then we add another chart to it, then we're comparing their focus points to your focus points and how they get along. So that's where that comes from. All right. Now y'all can see behind me, I kind of put them here just for reference, for quick reference, but these are the five major aspects, which are these lines that are in the middle that we're going to be talking about. Okay. Keita, thank you for letting me know. Sorry, the dating coach in here, Keita, she has a Queer Connections podcast
Oh,
where she
sweet.
helps, queer people get connected, so to speak. And I was on their podcast, and the episode is dropping on Tuesday, so that's
Love
cool.
it.
Thank you for letting me know. um, so let's go ahead and let's change this behind me to the first compatibility chart that we're going to be talking about, which is everyone's favorite couple. And stop. Don't. All right, now stop. No, really. So as we can see here, something that's interesting. This right here is Vanessa and Xander's what we call a synastry chart, which is actually about compatibility. Okay. So you'll see here on the outside edge, this whitish area, that's where Xander's placements are. Okay. Now I've chopped it down to just the big six so we can see it more quickly. The other planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they're generational planets. So while they are important, people that are within the same age range have it in the same sign usually, just maybe in a different house. So just to like make it a little less confusing, it's a lot of information already. I just want to show you this. So if we could look here, folks, right? When we talk about these five different aspects, they only have two major aspects here, which is fine, is great, and it doesn't mean that it's bad necessarily. In fact, if you look right here, this is Xander's moon, is sextile or cooperative with Vanessa's ego. What do I need to say about that? I don't need to say anything. We know, okay? So, in other words, how emotional you were and your emotional support was very good for Vanessa's ego. And then
Mhm.
vice versa, her ego could actually help emotionally support you in some way, shape, or form, right? Now, this is square right here. The red line stands for square, and a lot of people associate that with negativity because it does represent conflict. However, it can also be a good thing. Well, as an example, in this case, probably not so much because for you, communication is super important. Okay. And this right here is your Mercury. That is the planet of communication. Okay. So it happens to be square in conflict with Vanessa's emotions. So
Mm.
that could really create a lot of conflict between the two of you. If it was something which we'll see in some of the other matches, it's a square, it may not be a bad thing because in a lot of different like soulmate-ish compatibility, I see similarities and differences. So like there's certain things that you have to be kind of on the same page about and other things that it helps if it's different, right? Because then it's like, oh, I hate taking the trash out, but my partner does. Like that's a tiny little example, but it's just what I mean by like you can flow into each other and help each other.
Yeah,
So
that
in
makes
this case,
sense.
probably not so much. But let's talk about everybody's legit favorite couple. I know I got you all. I got you all there, didn't I? Um, So here we go. Here is Yoli and Xander. So again, Yoli is on the inside right here, okay? And Xander's on the outside. Now, I didn't have Vanessa's rising sign, so you won't see, you didn't see the ASC and the MC there. ASC is ascendant or rising sign, folks. That's your first impression, like how people see you at first and the first impression that you have for things. And your MC is your point of achievement. Okay, it's like your point of achievement. So we won't talk about them too much because we really want to talk about the goods when it comes to compatibility. Those are important. They absolutely can be. But what's interesting here is, first of all, the first thing we need to point out is that you both have Leo stelliums. Okay. Now your Jupiter isn't on right now, but I know that you have Jupiter there. A stellium is 3 or more points in the same house or the same sign, and you both have a Leo stellium. So what's interesting here, though, is that Yoli also has a Gemini moon. So you know how I was talking about how your communication is so important,
Mm-hmm.
especially being in Gemini, and that's your planet ruler in that case, you know, Mercury. This is you, it's so important to you, and it's actually in your 4th house of home or domestic life, okay? So having Yoli's moon here, that's a great match because you are in conjunction. This is one of the major aspects that's not pointed out by a line because they're on top of each other. When they're within 10 degrees of each other, you can see the moon tick point and then your Mercury tick point. That means they're blended, okay? So if they're blended together, that means it's hard to tell them apart. And that's why you can even see in the show, you had like this epiphany almost with communication because it was combative with Vanessa's moon and emotions, whereas it's blended with Yoli's. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Mm-hmm.
you can just feel that difference. It was apparent on screen even. So that's something that I think is really important for you in the future in general, is making sure that it's somebody that has the same understanding of communication as you, at least,
Yeah.
you know, because you, it's an important thing to you, especially when it comes to the domestic life or your home life. Okay.
Right.
Now, the other things that we want to point out that are pretty cool here, you don't have any square aspects on this, but you do have a sextile here between how Yoli is seen and like her first impression of people and your emotions. So you kind of like that. You're like, hey, look at her. Yeah, that's right. We're here together. That kind of feeling, right? Like it kind of pumps you up a little bit. So that's kind of what that means. And both of you having your Mars and Venus in Leo. Okay. Let me talk about what this means. Because Mars, I indicate Mars as your top energy. It's like what you want to be in control of. It usually indicates your drive and ambition in a certain kind of way. So with Leo, Leo's about adoration. Now, folks, adoration is a lot different than egotism, okay? Because a lot of people associate Leo with ego because it is ruled by the sun. Sun represents ego in astrology, right? But the ego is affected. It's just when you hurt their ego, that's when we're talking about ego. They can definitely forgive you, but they will never forget if you've hurt
Mhm.
them, okay? And the other part of that is adoration is not just like, oh, you're attractive or whatever. It's like, I see that you have done this thing for me, or you have been able to put this outfit together for the perfect occasion or whatever. I can't believe your socks matched your bow tie perfectly. That sort of thing, right? Because then you're getting adoration for something you've done, not just cuz. And that's what Leo's energy is. You both really understand that. And even I should have left your Jupiter on for this one, especially just because Jupiter is the planet of expansion and how you expand. So if you think about it, you all having that same kind of energy there means you have a really good give and take where you can be both communicate that you adore each other, and also you can take in the loyalty, because Leos are fiercely loyal and protective of the people that they love. And if you both get that, you get it, you know? So now we have Venus as well, and I want to talk about that one because Venus is your surrendering energy. So what you need in order to feel like you can be vulnerable with somebody.
Mhm.
So again, it's really words of affirmation, you know, like encouragement, and having them both in the same sign means that you have an edge where you want to be in control of certain things about it, and and you also want to be able to be vulnerable, which means you need somebody to meet you at that energy so you can feel like you don't have to do everything. And since both of you have a similarity there, And for you, Leo is in your sixth house. This is the house of routine and like daily routines. So you want to be adored for your routines, like what you're doing
Hmm.
every day, the work that you're putting in. You want somebody to notice that, you know? And Yoli would. One of my favorite is push and pull right here. This is called an opposition. This blue line, which is straight across from each other, and this is how you appear or your appearance, your first impression, and it's in trine with how vulnerable Yoli can be. So she feels like she can be vulnerable around you, like you will protect her, which is something that's important to a lot of Leos as well, right? It's like you protect me, and I will stab someone in the knee if I need to, you
Yeah,
know? That's kind of their
that
thing. They're like, I'm
sounds so
scrappy, but I
Yoli.
just need, yeah, yeah, I just need like a front for me, and then I can do it.
Yeah.
So out of fun, I went ahead and let's look at one more match from the show because it was on the show that you did indicate that you had some interest in Ray before you got before you got. Excuse me, who was that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to give you the checklist. Vanessa of Virgo's asking for the checklist of all of the people
Totally.
you've ever been
I
with.
need the whole agenda of what happened.
Yes. How many levels?
Yeah.
Um, but Xander and Ray are fairly compatible folks. Now, I looked this up, and I know some of you all love Natasha and Ray match that I did, which is funny because they also are very compatible.
Oh,
But
interesting.
what's interesting here is because you have a Cancer moon and she's a Cancer, okay? But she's got an Aries rising, okay? And on top of that, I believe her moon is in Virgo, right? You think I'd have all your charts memorized at this point, right? But yeah, her moon's in Virgo. Now you can see that there's a square here, okay? Because as we know with Virgo suns, which Vanessa's a Virgo sun, that's their ego that's in the details, right? That's what they're looking for is things that affect their ego. They want to know the details of. For Ray, it's emotions. You would love that. Okay. Now you see how there's some square and it's right here to your communication. What? So, what that really means is that the way you communicate may be in conflict with how Ray feels about certain things. But this is, again, where I say it doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing, you know?
Hmm.
Because as a Virgo, emotions, they're very critical. So you could actually lighten that load for her a little bit. That's what that square could actually indicate. And on top of that, you both are very active. This is a very active couple. You could just see that. Like there's so much activity in here. Your Mars and Leo right here. She's got this means she's a freak. Just so you all know, Venus and Virgo folks, y'all are freaks. I just called you out.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh. And that is a sextile right here to your moon, her emotion. So, anyway, you guys like probably would be doing lots of different activities. I know that she's a basketball player. I don't know if you're a
Mhm.
basketball player so much, but I know you do physical therapy, right? So just a
Yeah.
very like you all would be on so many adventures and stuff, like all over the place. That's what the vibe I get from here. Now let's talk about
Very cool.
what you're looking for, okay? A little bit. I just put these back here. I don't know. Sorry, it's a little cut off. I thought I made it the right size. But basically, as a Gemini sun, you were talking about something that you would need is people that work with you, right?
Hmm.
And so in compatibility, that usually means a sign that is sextile. It's cooperative in nature, right? So signs that are sextile to Gemini are Leo and Aries. So that's where that came from, okay? Yes, Yoli's a Leo, folks. Calm down. And and Cancer Moon, okay? You were saying comfort. You would like there to be some comfort. So this indicates a trine. Trines are usually within the same elements. We have four elements in astrology: fire, which is initiation or energy; earth, which is structure; water is emotion; and air is intelligence. Okay, so this is a water. In fact, Cancer moons, it's native, okay? Moon rules Cancer. So you have a super in-depth emotional capacity. And this means that, having other people be able to comfort you, probably another water sign. So Scorpio or Pisces, because they're going to also have emotional capacity. Scorpio, the investigator, and Pisces, they're more about intuition, okay? So then when we talk about Gemini, and again, Gemini Mercury, another native ruled planet, right? And you would like somebody else to help you with the problem solving of it. So again, this is cooperative or sextile. So again, Leo and Aries. And yes, Yoli has those two. There's a few other. Yoli had 3 out of these, which I was a little surprised, not surprised at the same time. But it's kind of fun to see that, you know?
It is.
It just goes to show you. So Venus in Leo, okay? This means, and you were asking for mutual vulnerability, somebody that could meet you there, right? So in this case, this is another sextile, okay? So another cooperative. So 60 degrees away, that's Libra and Gemini. These are air signs, okay? Intelligence, fire, air. What happens with that? Same here though, but now you're looking for supportive. So again, somebody who has kind of the similar baseline to you, other fire signs, you know? Thank you for joining us. The cat has joined us.
I saw those wired.
Yeah. Hello, Rosie. Welcome. So now you have each of these. This is just kind of a breakdown of how I found those matches for you. Now let's see what it looks like on a synastry chart. Okay. Let's see why it would be or how it would be. Wrong thing. There we go. And sorry, just want to make sure I pick the right one here. There we are. Yep. Okay, so this is the first match that I had sent you, which was what was it? A Leo sun, a Scorpio moon, Virgo in Venus. They would have Cancer in. I'm sorry, a Virgo Mercury, Cancer Venus, and a Aries Mars. Which Aries Mars, folks, whoo! That's native as well. That's spicy. But let's be real. Xander likes spicy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you want it to be the right kind. As I all say, we are all a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, okay?
Right.
It's just a matter of whether your crazies match. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we're looking for here, right? So in your first match, something that's interesting here is like immediately you can see this trine right here, which is both of your Mars placements, okay? So this is, again, that fire Mars activity, which means this person is like really quick to act and you're like, ooh, what are we doing? This is fun. That's the kind of energy, right? They're going to be more of the initiator for like doing some fun stuff. And that's actually helpful to you, at least from my read, because you tend to be very work focused. You want to make sure that you get the stuff done. You probably feel like if you don't get it done, you won't. That's an air sign thing, by the way, right? So having that air sign energy, intelligence, Gemini, right? You do have that Leo energy of fire as well. So other people that have that similar energy where they're looking for intelligence and they also have a little spark to them would be very appealing to you. It's just got to be in the right categories, right? So like if you look right here, this is their MC or their achievement, their point of achievement, and that is cooperating with your ego. So this could actually be somebody that you would maybe meet at work or something like that, where you kind of like, oh, we kind of have a similar kind of style, but our own thing. That indicates that kind of thing, they're not going to step on your toes here. You can both be very successful. Your ego is not going to be hurt by their success, right? In fact, it's cooperating with it. So you may both grow together, if that makes sense. Now, there is a square here, right? This is their square, this imaginary person's square. Moon, right here, their emotions is squared with your Mars. So your drive. Again, not necessarily a bad thing because this person's emotions, they're Scorpio, which means they might hide a lot of their emotions and keep them locked up. So you as a Leo can kind of coax it out of them a little bit and help that, like, no, it's okay. You should talk about it. It'll help you deal with it. And that's why that could be a really good thing. Probably more for them than you in that case. Although you could get a little hot and heavy with like, let's go do something fun. And they might be like, can we just make sure we should do that first? So you could kind of balance each other out.
So interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's go to your second match. Now this one is an Aries match. I did put the aspects that are those lines. I wrote them out here for you all, but we don't necessarily need to talk about them like that. So here's match 2. This is our second imaginary person, if you will. This person is an Aries sun, a Pisces moon, an Aries Mercury, Aries, Venus, and a Cancer Mars. Okay, so we are talking almost opposite when it comes to Mars placements here, and this was not one of your particular Mars placements. But what's interesting is that because you have a Cancer moon, that could be a really good match in a different kind of way. But we do see a square here, and it is to your moon from their Venus. So again, not necessarily a bad thing, because if their vulnerability, it's in Aries. So they're probably quick to dismiss people, this imaginary person, but you have the emotional stability, the emotional depth to be able to work through them with that. In fact, you would like that, because you would probably appreciate the help with it in turn, with something that you needed help with. Your MC, or how you appear, is in trine with how they communicate. So instead of meeting this person at work, it could be somebody that you would meet out at an event or something like that, just because it feels like your energy is in the same area of life, but totally different wheelhouses. Where the other match seemed like it was somebody like another physical therapist or a doctor or something like that works directly within that area. My other friends that live in Hawaii, she's a physical therapist too. Is
Oh,
there a
really?
physical therapist in Hawaii?
We're
Or
lacking so many. We need more.
she's on Maui. I don't know which island you're on. You don't need
Okay.
to tell everybody. You don't
Yeah.
need to tell folks. They'll fly out there. Okay, I already had people commenting on under the thing, like, yeah, compatible with me. I'm like, wow, people.
Yeah.
Poor
It's
Xander. You
very
must be sore.
general.
Yeah, right? Well, that's fun, though. That's kind of fun. I
Yeah,
bet you're
that's
like,
fun.
holy crap, with all of it at the same time. But so this was the third match, and arguably out of the three, my favorite, because it feels like it would be the best match. This person is a Leo sun with a Pisces moon, a Leo Mercury, or communication, if you will, Gemini Venus, and another Cancer Mars. So a little softer on the Mars, even though yours was suggesting more fire. You have a lot of fire, so maybe you don't need it because you do
Yeah.
have that Leo stellium. So, but what's really cool about this one is, look at this grouping right here. This is your placements, your Mercury, communication, ego, and emotion. This is their vulnerability and drive. Up here, your drive and vulnerability with their ego. So like, it's just this balance of like, well, here, their vulnerability and their drive is about the story, telling a good story. That's where your ego and your communication comes from. So you can only help, like, you're only going to help each other. And then the same thing goes up here, where their ego is about adoration, and so is your drive and how your vulnerability works. So you're very polite to each other, very compensating for each other in a lot of different ways. You can see, because I made this person, imaginary person, an Aquarius rising. I tried to do 3 different risings, because the ones I thought you'd be compatible with. And this one obviously puts you guys at the same. You can see that these are lined up. So that just means like your ambitions and how you see the world are very similar. The square we have here, again, is with that damn moon and Mercury. So this is the same placement that you had with Vanessa,
Yeah.
right? But so you could run into that same issue where this Pisces moon might be a little too out there for your communication to hit them appropriately. But with all this other blended good thing, because remember, she only had one of the other one.
Right.
There are like so many trines, good flow, things that you understand. This is blended energy. You didn't have any of that with Vanessa. So
I was
even though
gonna
you
say,
had
it's like,
this,
at least it's polite. It'll be politely said.
oh,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah. And it's not like, and I don't mean to come after Vanessa at all, like,
no.
whatever. I'm just saying that it's just, again, the two of you didn't necessarily match in the right way, but you did match, and you learned things from each other for a
Exactly.
while, right? You can't necessarily change that. It wouldn't make you the person you are now without it.
Right.
So that's important stuff to have. I just, I don't know. I think that that's important to go across. But if I can be frank with you, like, you and Yoli are a great match. So I know that you all are not currently monogamously dating each other. so to
Right.
speak, and you're far apart at the moment, I believe. I don't want to say too. I mean, everybody knows you're in
Yeah.
Hawaii. I don't know if
Yeah.
everybody knows where Yoli is. I think most people do. She's in Chicago right now. But if you all just ended up, like, if you end up in LA, which will probably happen at some point, I can see you all, like, trying to see if stuff works if you're both single. You know? Like, I could totally see that.
I mean,
So,
I think that like yeah, like the compatibility chart there is like, and it also like it makes sense so much like with you explaining all of that. Like, oh yeah, like that's how it was when I was living with her. Like this is how we would communicate. This is how this would
yeah.
go. So it's super
Uh-huh.
interesting to just see it like explained in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like, let's be real. You all filmed, like, 80,000 hours, and we saw 9.
Yes, exactly.
So, folks, any of you that is taking any of this too seriously in some way, shape, or form, it's for fun. It's entertainment. These people sacrifice themselves to entertain us. Like, seriously.
Sacrifice. I love that and kind of true.
It's like, you know, the ultimate queer sacrifice. Fine. Put me on a drama. I mean, we were all there for the drama, and that's what the show played
Yeah.
for us. And we got it. You
Absolutely.
know, there's stuff that we might
Yeah.
wanted to have been different, but it wouldn't have turned out the way it did. You know, I think that
Exactly.
when we got to the reunion, we got to see more true aspects of people. That's why I only count 9 of you now. But the the thing is that, like, because there's understandings of like different things that have happened on the show and how everything's perceived and all that sort of thing. But you could even feel like at the reunion that you and Yoli just have this connection. And you can't help it. You literally cannot help it. You are drawn to each other, and it's like, why are you trying to make us not want to be drawn to each other? Almost the universe, you know.
Right.
And sometimes it's because it's not time yet. So it just could be that you just need a little time, or maybe it's not the right. You just needed to meet each other to find out what you could have with somebody else,
Hmm.
that kind of energy that you could have with somebody else. So if you do happen to run into it again with somebody, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, this could be, like, I'm not saying base all of your relationships off astrology, although not a bad idea, Xander, just saying.
Yeah. It
But
sounds like it works.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's all about, like, what feels good for you personally, again, because nobody knows how you want to deal with certain things in your relationship. You're the only person there, you and this other person. And as
Right.
I always say in synastry or compatibility, it's so important to understand who the individuals are and then see how they help each other out. Because
Hmm.
you should be an individual and then you complement each other's lives in certain ways. That's my opinion
Absolutely.
on that.
I
So,
agree.
but anyway, so do you have any questions that you would like to ask, even about your personal chart or any of the compatibilities? I'll put your chart behind me again.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I feel like I learned so much. I feel like, I mean, so a few of the things like you were saying, um, like with, for example, like coworkers and things, so I keep running into this with one of my coworkers is
mm,
where he doesn't like to talk about things, but like we need to, like we work so closely together. So
mm-hmm.
I do feel like with my experiences and I guess because of my like how I'm aligned and everything that I'm able to hold that space and like communicate those things. And
Yep.
I will do it, but I also get pretty over it. Like I don't want to like lead, I don't want to carry all that weight. So like it's nice to know like okay, like
Mm-hmm.
these are the signs that like I'll have to carry the weight. And I don't think that I want to do that. I think that I just
Yep.
want it to flow a little bit easier and like I want them the person that I end up with to be able to communicate and like for us to just be like boom, boom, boom. Okay, now it's done. Let's go do something fun.
Yeah. And honestly, like, if we look at your MC, which is this, your ambition or your achievement, right? Where you work, like how you work, it's in Sagittarius. This is the opposite
Hmm.
to your sun sign, right? This is my favorite opposition pair. Okay. I have a lot of Sag placements. I'm a Capricorn sun, but I have a lot of Sag placements. So speaking as somebody that has like a different sun, but a lot of fire energy, and you'll notice that MC is trining over here to your Mars or your drive. So you're looking to, like, hey, we have stuff to do, we have things, and you want to be kind of efficient and effective with how you're communicating, right?
Right.
Because as Sagittarius is like, we ain't got time for this, we got stuff we got to get done. You're trying to experience certain things, you're trying to get it um, to get different philosophies, understand, like, learn things from communicating with other folks. Like, hey, why don't we talk about this? Because maybe I can learn something from you too. So when they seem unreceptive to that, that can be really annoying.
Exactly. Exactly.
The only thing I can recommend for that is find out what their sign is so we can figure out a plan of attack. All right.
Yeah,
We'll figure
yeah.
out what their sign is so we can see how maybe you have to give them a candy bar or something first to get them,
Right.
you know?
What do you
um,
need so that we can get this done?
yeah, exactly. Because sometimes it's all about how you approach people. Like some people just don't like certain approaches. That's on them. But sometimes they're not enlightened enough to understand that that's their responsibility. Rosie, for the love, do you want to be on screen? She's just roaming around my room meowing and
She's like,
everything.
I love this too.
She's, what could I say? She's cute. Here, you want to come up here? Come on. Let's come say hi to everybody. Since you're being so nosy
Oh
and
my gosh, she's like,
noisy.
finally, look at that
This is
cutie.
Rosie, everybody, or who I like to call Pig. Yeah. Yeah, Rosie is a big Xander fan. Rosie's also a Gemini. So she's a
Oh,
Gemini as
there we
well.
go. There
Hmm.
we go.
Yes. She is a big. The whole house is Xander fans. What are you talking about? Uh, but we also have a Gemini that lives here with us as well. So we are a Gemini love house, and a Leo
Amazing.
who lives here as well. So it's interesting to see all the different dynamics and how it played out on the show. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. Sorry, was there any other questions? I didn't mean to interrupt there with the cat, but
Um, I don't think so. I think that everything just like that you said, like because I've always like wondered about like I've seen like my natal chart and everything before, and I've just never seen it. I've never had it explained to me, I guess is more so. So
yeah,
I'd be like, okay,
no,
like
absolutely.
I can try and like figure this out a little bit, but it's not probably not gonna be
Hmm.
accurate. So it's so cool to actually have this information and be able to base, like you said, like base some things and like my relationships and how I move through the rest of my life, like off of this.
That's hey, I'm glad I could
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
You almost have a mystic rectangle. It's really close too, which would be interesting. But that's a certain pattern that people have in their charts, which indicate psychic abilities. But yours is really close, so you may have a little bit of that
Ah,
anyway.
yeah.
Especially having Saturn here in your 12th house of intuition and dreams, you actually may feel restricted by your intuition sometimes. Like you feel like sometimes it tells you the wrong thing, or
Yes.
you may not trust it.
Uh-huh.
But as things go, your drive, you can see it's pushing and pulling that. It's challenging it. It's like, let's just try it. You'll
Absolutely.
see.
Yes. That's exactly
So
exactly what I do. I'm like this is the plan that I'm moving forward with, and I'm like, ooh, but I don't know if it feels right. Like, just do it. Just keep going.
that's right. Because I mean, you do have that fire energy, so it can help you do that,
Yeah.
you know? I
Right.
mean, honestly, most of your you do have like you have a couple here in Earth, but these are generational planets. So Capricorns, they're Lexi's Capricorn for some folks that need to know sun sign anyway. But Lexi's also a Gemini rising and moon. So you can see how like her communication and how she speaks a lot,
Super
it comes
key.
off, especially at the beginning, right
Yes.
when you're first getting to know her, and then we get to the Capricorn part, which is about efficiency and effectiveness. They are the absolute, they're about time. Do
Hmm.
not waste their time. She got pissed about, let's be real. It wasn't
Right.
anything else other than the fact that she feels like her time was being wasted. That's a
Yeah.
Capricorn move, folks. So that's like the kind of energy, but Uranus is about rebellion, and Neptune is intuition and dreams. So it happens to be in your social house. So you're very serious socially. You want to make sure you're there. We're doing the thing we need to be doing. Doesn't mean you
So
can't have
true.
fun,
So
but
true.
like when it's something you have to do socially, you're like, all right, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's do it. Now I can go have
Exactly.
fun, right?
Yep.
And like I said, with that, you have fire here. This is fire with Sag and Leo, the Leo stellium. Water is Scorpio, Pluto, so the other generational planet. This is native as well. And this means that you have intense transformation. It's usually through travel, in your case, because it's in the ninth house, or different experiences or higher education. And then again, this Leo thing, all in your sixth house of routine, your like daily routines and things that you want to
Hmm.
do. Now, I also want to point out for you that Leo rules, because how we figure out what sign rules a house, because you know how you don't have any placements here. That I
Hmm.
mean, not on the screen. Like I said, there's thousands of them, so we just don't
Right.
have them all turned on. But like you're an Aquarius rising, and then if you follow this line, well, Aries rules your second house. So Pisces totally in your first house of self. So how you see yourself is very unique, individual. You may have a hard time with that sometimes. Like, I want to be different, but I don't want to be shunned for being different.
Yeah.
And then you have intuition and dreams in here. Oldest and wisest of the zodiac signs is also in your first house of self. So again, that's that doubting of your intuition. That's another spot where that might come in. So
Exactly.
how we figure this out is those lead lines that go around. So like Aries rules your second house of value, which means you're quick to act to gain value or possession of things. You want to jump on it. You don't want to miss that opportunity.
Hmm.
Now Taurus, they rule. Taurus rules your third house of communication, and Taurus is like kind of slow and steady, wins the race. Like I worked hard, now I need a snack and chill. That's
Yeah.
their energy, right? And so when it comes to communication, you're like you're gonna get it done, and then you're like, all right, let's have a snack, I'm done.
Right. Yeah.
Now interestingly, Gemini rules two houses because it rules your house of home right here, the fourth house, right? And it also rules the fifth house, even though your moon is in Cancer. So having Mercury, your communication, in your house of home means you want to be able to communicate at home, your domestic life, right? And your ego is also involved in this. You want to feel good at home. You want to feel
Yeah.
like you're home when you're at home. Now, home,
Absolutely.
folks, is whatever you feel, okay? It could be the top of a mountain, it could be a
Right.
cave, I don't care. But it's whatever you feel like is your home, right?
Exactly.
So then that's why you can travel a lot too, by the way. Like
Hmm.
why you can travel and live different places because you're very adaptable to that. It's just about being able to communicate and having your ego feel like it feels comforted at home, right?
Hmm.
Now, the fifth house, because it's ruled by Gemini, this is your house of creativity. So this gives you again some duality, the storyteller, how to have fun when you're being creative or looking for pleasure, because this is also the house of pleasure, where your moon is under Cancer. Um, yeah, well done. I'm sure Yoli enjoyed that as well. So, just saying,
Yeah. Yep.
okay?
Yep.
That's a nice spot for that. That's creativity and pleasure with
Yeah.
deep
Yeah.
emotional capacity, folks. Okay? That's why I'm clapping there. Now now
It
when it
reminds me
comes
of when I
to
was like, we have a very emotional connection, and everyone's like, yeah, duh. Of
you're like,
course.
but I need to tell you about it because you're in my house. But what's funny is because of this, by the way, it also makes you very aware of how powerful your communication is. Okay. So you'll notice that those of you, both you and Aussie, who's a Gemini as well, you both also have it in Mercury. And Aussie was kind of, people came after Aussie for not being able to communicate, but you have to understand it's because it's such a tool for you, for both of you, even that, and it's so important that it's something that's not to be used lightly.
Mm,
That's the difference. And again, we got to see 9 hours out of 80,000. Okay.
right.
So, like, you only get to see like little snippets, but it's because the communication is so important to you. Sometimes you don't want to share information
Hmm.
because you're like, I know that if I say this, it has a certain kind of power. You
Right.
understand the power of communication. Some people don't care and they just blab stuff. We saw this
Exactly. And
last
like,
time.
I feel like I have to like make sure that that person is like ready for it, and that I'm ready for
Yeah.
it, and that we're gonna like have this conversation.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And honestly, that's very similar to how Aussie looks at things. They just go about it differently. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
They're like,
Yep.
I need to have the space to wait until I'm ready. The difference now that they've been working on is being able to give an end date. Like, and I just need 10 minutes or something.
Exactly.
Because, you know,
Exactly.
that they're used to not being the initiator of it. They're used to having to control the atmosphere of it. Whereas
Right.
you can be an initiator of it within yourself, and then just see how people go with it, and if they don't respond, you may shut down a little bit and start to
Hmm.
quiet yourself, because you again know how important communication is, and you don't necessarily want to give away too much information once you've been shut down. You're like, you don't appreciate my communication anyway.
Right,
So,
exactly. And I feel like that's very like to me it feels very noticeable on the show even like where like somebody will say something whatever and I'm just like I feel like I'm feeling a certain way right now. I'm not going to just say the things because I can say a lot of
uh-huh.
things right now, but I'm not going
Yes.
to.
You're like,
I will
no.
save you from the things that are happening in my head right now.
I think that's a lot of it, and that's a lot of the mentality, and it can come out like you're trying to avoid the conversation, but
Right.
you're not. You're not, well, I mean, you might be in a certain way, but you're avoiding it for a different reason than what people think you're avoiding it
Exactly.
for. I'm
Yeah.
actually trying to help you. Just let's not go there, okay?
Right.
But yeah, that's funny. But now Cancer also rules your sixth house, which is your routines. So like what you like to do on a daily routine, or um, even like your acts of service. You are very emotionally supportive, right?
Mhm.
So probably even with your work, because that's probably part of your daily. You're very emotionally supportive, not just doing physical therapy, but emotional therapy as well,
Right.
because
Oh
there's a
yeah.
lot of it. Like people
Lots
don't
of that.
necessarily associate trauma with physical injury. But speaking as somebody who also played a lot of basketball and has had to do my fair share of physical therapy, there's a lot of
Mhm.
mental stuff going on there as well. And having that emotional support from somebody who's helping you get better, that's a really great thing.
Yeah.
So you're probably really good at your job. Um, and this would say
I
that because of this drive here. Hello, there's the
right.
Leo. Again, we talked about that a little bit, but and how you expand as a person is also giving adoration through your acts of service, how
Hmm.
you treat people, right?
And that's
Now,
definitely like the love language I give to others is like I
yes,
give acts of service. Like that's without a doubt.
absolutely. And Leo rules your seventh house of relationships
Yeah.
or long-term connection. So it's not just romantic, it's actually like work as an
Right.
example, family, friends, all of that. So if Leo's ruling it, again, you're going to be looking for adoration through your relationships. You're going to look for, words of encouragement, things like that. That's what you're going to need and look for. Now, I do want to point out that Virgo is also in that house, and it's completely enveloped, which means it's giving all of its need for detail and information. It's giving that. So when we talk about like, what are your plans? How do you want to do this? Blah, blah, blah. That's where the Virgo part comes in.
That
You're
makes
looking
sense.
for these relationships to have. What's the plan?
Right.
You want to know. You're like, okay, I need some adoration. I need to know how we're getting from point A to point adoration. How do we get there?
Yeah. Like, why are we having this conversation if you haven't already thought about
Yeah, like what are you doing? Why are you wasting my
it?
time? um, but yeah, but then we also have Libra right here, a tiny bit, but Libra is ruling your eighth house. So this is your house of travel, adventure, things like that, higher education and philosophy. And you're looking for balance in that. You're looking for fairness in how that works. So if you're going to go on a trip like for fun, then next time you need to make sure it's for work or to see family, or like, you want to have some sort of
Absolutely.
balance with what you're doing, not just all for you or all for another person, but a balance in there. And then we have Scorpio is ruling your ninth house. Sorry, I just totally screwed up. Libra is ruling your eighth house, not your ninth house. Your eighth house is about the area of the taboo. My apologies. Sex, uh, death, transformation. So you're looking for balance in your transformation. My bad. Doesn't mean you're not looking for it in how you travel as well, because it's close to there. And it's about transformation, but this is more about how you are trying to step into your power. You want to do that in a fair way. Scorpio is ruling your ninth house. This is the travel house that I meant to talk about, which means the more you travel, the more you experience things, the more you'll transform, because your Pluto's there. And on top of it, Scorpio, the emotional investigator, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
oh, how do I know that? You know?
I'm so
Um,
excited about that because I have lots of travels coming up this year.
ooh, so you'll probably do a lot of emotional thought, like maybe journal while you're
Yep.
there, is what I'm
Hmm.
getting. Because you're going to be experiencing things that affect you emotionally, and that you're going to look at. You're one of those people that can notice the change in a routine really quickly,
Hmm.
because Scorpio is ruling your your experiences, right? And because it's always investigating, it's always, Scorpios are the energy of, I don't believe you. Like that's it. That's where you start is I don't believe you. You have to earn trust with them. So when
Hmm.
it comes to to your adventures, you want something that's transformative. So yeah, like keep a journal or something so you can lock that and like talk about it later. Because Scorpios
I
like
only
tend to
have like
put it away.
6 right over there. Just like the one for each chapter.
Excellent. That's also your Gemini showing. Just gonna say,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
but what's funny is you actually have ruling your 10th house. So this is your house of ambition, right? So this right here is your MC, what I was talking about, and it's in Sagittarius. And again, the duality between Gemini and Sagittarius, folks. Okay, they're both looking for intelligence. Gemini is an air sign, though, so they're really into the intelligence, the story of intelligence. And Sagittarius is a fire sign, so they're in the action of it. They want to adventure, right? Uh, Geminis will read 8 pages of a book and give a TED talk the next day on it. Okay. Sagittarians will be like, I wonder how they did that on that mountain. I'm going to go find out. And they're just going to go to the mountain and find out. You know? So when it
Yeah.
comes to your achievement, you're great at the story, but when it comes to the experience of it, you're like, I have experience in this and I know what I'm doing. Okay?
Yep.
Because Sagittarians, their energy is the know it all. Okay? That's because they do know it all. Just saying. Now it's because they don't talk about things that they don't know. So when it comes to like work or achievement, you're talking about using your experience and the things that you know, and you feel really comfortable discussing that because you've been there, done that. That's that energy. And now Sagittarius also rules your 11th house, which is your social house. So the kinds of social groups you like to be involved in. Obviously, people who are doing adventurous things, active things, you like to do that socially. But then you also have those 2 placements in Capricorn, which will bring in your rebellion. So do something a little
Mm.
bit crazy and using your intuition to judge whether or not this is the time to do that crazy thing or not. Um, and Capricorn rules your 12th house. That's the intuition and dreams. So efficient and effective. That's why you may have an argument because you're like, is this really efficient for my intuition to tell me to not do this, or should I just do it? And that's where some of that, like I was talking to you about how you have self-talk about trusting your intuition because Saturn is in there, which does, and by the way, welcome out of your Saturn return, folks.
Ah,
Okay? Any of you that
seriously,
have Saturn in
so
Aquarius,
good.
just like my main lady, she also has her Saturn in Aquarius just finished. In March, your Saturn return. Okay. It's 2.5 years and it is a big life change. And you were
Yeah.
on the show in the middle of it.
Yeah, I was.
You,
I was like, and then
there
when I
you go.
got out of it, I was like, oh, I can breathe.
Yeah. Like it's a big difference, right?
Yeah, it
Like I
really
know with
is.
my girlfriend, she's really noticed it. But it's so interesting. So congratulations for making it through. You did it. Okay.
Yeah,
Now you don't have to deal with
did the
another
damn
one until
thing.
you're like 58. So you're good.
Be
Um,
prepared.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like that's a really quick one. But that's why I just wanted to make sure that I put it up there and talk to you through your chart personally so you could understand a little better about what's going on with you. So I
Love
hope
it.
that helped.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of this. Like,
Yeah, no,
this
thank
was
you. And thanks for coming
so
on.
fun and so interesting. I mean, I can't wait to like watch this again and just like soak in more of the information, which
Yeah.
is, I don't know. I'm just so stoked to have this.
Yeah, I will I'll post it on Instagram and also YouTube. So I'll send you the link so you can look at it whenever you want. All right?
Love it.
All
Sweet.
right. Well, thank you so much, Xander. Everybody,
Yes.
make sure you're following Xander. Don't harass Xander.
I've been
Okay?
getting lots of love. I appreciate it all from you guys. Thank
Uh-huh.
you so
I know,
much.
but sometimes that can be too much to
That's true.
relax
That's
for
true.
a minute.
That's true. Yeah.
Just let Xander breathe a little bit, okay? Okay? Uh, Xander's got things to do, okay? Yeah, everybody's like, we love Xander. I know. I know. I
Yeah.
love Xander as well. So we all love you. Thank you for coming on.
Yes, of
And I
course.
really appreciate it. And so, folks, if you do want a reading from me, there's a link in my profile. There's all sorts of stuff. And yeah, thanks again to Xander. Make sure you're going over and following Xander. And best of luck to all of you. Stay safe. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.